Have a determination of a quorum.
Okay, Chair Williams, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. We'll start with Director Houston,
Here.
Director Alvarez, Director Deere,
Here.
Director Gray, Director Gray. Yeah, Director Gray. And that'll bring us to you, Chair Williams.
I'm here.
Okay, it appears we have a quorum of the board for the special board meeting, as well as for the committee.
Okay. Are there any public comments?
So we have no public comments here in the room. And so I'll turn my attention to the platform to know if anyone on the platform would like to make a public comment by raising their hand. And I see no hands raised. And so that would indicate that we have no public comments at this time.
Okay, that moves us to item 5, action calendar.
Okay, so we have no items on the action calendar.
Okay, then that takes us to the information calendar items under 6. So therefore, I will turn this over to the general manager.
Okay, and we have several presentations for the committee today, starting with item A, our water harvest 2022 post-event summary. And we have Melissa Buendia here to provide that report. So Melissa, please take it away.
Greg, and good morning to the committee and the board that is present. Like mentioned, I'm happy to provide a recap of this year's Water Harvest Festival. So I actually will begin on packet page 7 with a comparison of this year's event compared to the one that we hosted in 2019, which was our last in-person version of the event. So this year's event took place in the third weekend of October. In 2019, we actually hosted it on the fourth weekend. We did work with the same contracted support for event production services. So Bravo Productions is who we worked with again this year. We did host a 75th anniversary special ceremony, breakfast and cake cutting. And then in terms of educational opportunities, we had a number of new elements, including Wildwood stage shows, 33 booths, a number of them being new booth participants this year. And then other things that we have in terms of the educational opportunities I'll be covering in a later slide. So we can move on to packet page 8, I believe, which is a summary of attendance, again, in comparison to 2019's event. So in total, we are proud to share that we had 1,262 attendees at this year's event. This is an increase of 174 guests from our 2019 event. And the way that we tally our guest numbers is as each guest enters the event, they are handed a printout program, and we take the difference of how much we ended up printing that day, and we see how much we distributed. So that's how we determine how many folks did enter the event that day. So I'll go over the attendance breakdown per division in just a little bit, but on this slide, you can see that not only have we increased our attendance overall, but we've also reduced the number of folks from outside of our service area by 6% compared to 2019, which is always great in order to maximize the amount of educational opportunities and resources that are available to our service area. And then moving on to packet page 9, this slide shows a total attendance over the years. So you can see that we did have a little bit of a dip in 2018 and 2019, but as we return in 2022, we are on the uptick from this year. 10, you'll also see a graph here that's illustrating what I mentioned earlier about percentage of attendees from outside of our service area. So you can see that, again, we continue to reduce that amount of percentage of our attendees each year. So that's always good to see. And then we can move on to packet page 11. I will note that all of these data points are based on information gathered from those that submitted opportunity drawing tickets on the event day. So it is a sampling. So it's about 37% of sampling from our total 1,262 attendees that were there. So you'll see here from those who submitted the opportunity drawing ticket from Division 1, most residents were from the city of Carson, followed by Rancho Palos Verdes and then Rolling Hills. And moving on to the next slide, 100% of the folks that did submit their ticket and from Division 2 were from the city of Inglewood. And then on the next slide, you'll see from Division 3, residents came from Manhattan Beach, shortly followed by those from Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, and then a couple from Torrance and from Lomita, 3%. Now on packet page 14, the next slide, most folks from Division 4 were from residents from the city of El Segundo, but we were happy to see a couple of folks from Topanga, as well as some of the areas of Los Angeles and Del Aire and Culver City as well. Then on packet page 15, most folks from Division 5 were from, more than half were from the city of Hawthorne, followed by Gardena and then Mondale. And moving on to packet page 16, you'll see a breakdown of those who ended up being from outside of the service area. So you can see the variety of different areas. So a good chunk of it was from the city of Torrance, which I believe is expected. Some folks from General Los Angeles, and then so on and so forth. On to packet page 17, you'll see a summary of the earned and paid media coverage that we had for the event. You can pull the full media clips packet of the Water Harvest advertising campaign efforts, and that starts on packet page 29, so you can feel free to at your leisure. And then on packet page 18, one thing I do want to note from the previous slide is that we were proud to have coverage from Spectrum News 1 with a reach of about 26K. And then we also had El Segundo TV cover the event there. So it was nice to be able to have that as a broadcast. And then moving on to package 18, page 18, you'll see an overview of some of the additional promotional efforts staff pursued, including distribution of our service area of flyers to our service area school districts, and community areas, e-blast, social media, a number of things, including our monument banners, and so forth. 19 lists out all of our earned media coverage, and packet pages 20 to 22 provide a list of all of the paid advertisements that media clips can be found on packet page. So we can over to packet page 23, which summarizes those who heard, how people heard about it. So those who were sampled, once again, they shared on their opportunity drawing ticket how they heard about the event. So you'll see that 34% of folks heard about the event through our flyer distribution efforts, which is great. It shows how effective our outreach is to our service area schools, shortly followed by family and friends, aka word of mouth, at 26%. And that third chunk there at 15% in the purple was from social media, which also is great to hear that our boosted posts and ads are being well received and help to spread the word about this. It's good to see. And then on packet page 24, I did want to provide an overview of where we are with the budget. So as of October, we are about 50,000 over the current event budget. And I did want to provide background and overview of those reasonings. And today's overview will actually be followed up with 2 action items that will be brought to the board in the next month in January, which will provide a number of details of how the event costs are playing out. So the actuals to date as of October include the full event production services contract amount for Bravo Productions and the including the approved 15% contingency for a total of that $89,860 that is on the slide. And it also includes some overages in the water harvest categories, various water harvest categories. Again, there are a couple of reasons for these additional costs. The first one being additions and enhancements to the value of the event as a whole. So I'll provide a couple of examples. So this year we've moved forward with having the Weiland Foundation mobile learning experience. It was parked at the east lot. It was that large truck that provided interactive and engaging experience for attendees, and that cost about $3,000. And then we decided to move forward with shade coverage for not only the stage area and seating area as we've done in the past, which attendees have appreciated, but we figured since our generous booth participants are there spending time with us all day, we did want to provide them with ample amount of shade coverage as well. So we wanted to provide the exhibitor booth participant area with that large canopy as well, which did cost extra, about $6,000 extra for all of the shade and the equipment that. Some other things in this category, some of the special 75th anniversary elements that were included in the breakfast with some of the customized booth elements. I'm hoping that you were able to see the special 75th anniversary booth that had the beautiful gallery walls there. That's additional as well. That helps. Bucket or the second reasoning here is that some of the costs for certain items are coming in higher than projected, than we projected during the budgeting process. So again, a couple of examples being some of the price impacts from inflation of the giveaway items that we ordered and gave away at the event. Some of the costs for the shuttle service, they came in a little bit higher than that 3,500 we budgeted, just because of the need to the shuttle service start earlier and a little bit later, and the number of shuttles that we wanted to provide this year. And then in terms of like advertising costs, it was a little bit higher than typically anticipated. And the last reason here, or the last bucket, is some omissions actually from some of the items in the overall budget. So the parking structure rental costs. So we typically, for summary, we have our attendees park at a parking structure nearby, so that, and then they take the shuttle to the event location. So that parking structure rental costs were actually omitted from the event budget. And that actually also came over what we would have projected anyways for that, that service at $8,400. And then we also had some additional storage unit needs for all of our water harvest event materials. So those were unexpected added expenses as well. Those are just some of the examples that added up to some of the additional costs. So again, staff will be bringing back 2 action items in January for the board and to provide a very detailed look into the costs of the event as a whole, as invoices continue to come in and the budget versus actuals coming for the month of November. And it will also be a well-timed opportunity to look at the overall budget, re-examine and reallocate within our existing overall public information and education budget, to see how we can make sure that all of it fits within the public information and education budget as a whole. So again, staff is confident that the additional costs were a result of focusing on increasing the educational value, the comfort, and the safety of our event guests this year. And again, we look forward to providing more detailed discussion in January too. So if there aren't any questions here, I will move along to, I believe it's packet page 25.
Just a moment. Are there any questions at this point?
Well, I think I'll
Lot of-
wait till the end. to Go over a few things, but yeah.
How about Director Deere,
No, no questions. Thanks.
Ray?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you.
So we are on packet page 25, and this is a list of our generous event sponsors for the year. We are proud to share that staff did secure $10,000 from Metropolitan Water District's MAA funding, and $23,500 from the listed organizations here on the slide, for a total of $33,500 of sponsorship funds this year that will go towards the district's other revenues section. And then on the last 2 slides on packet page 26, provide a list of all of the educational offerings, as mentioned previously, and celebrations that took place that day. There was plenty to be enjoyed for the 1,200 guests that joined us. So we had stage shows by the Wildwoods group, story time by the El Segundo Library. Again, we had a total of 33 booth participants, and you can see a list there of the new booth participants that we were proud to have. We also had enhanced West Basin booths this year hosted by our staff members and a number of other elements and burgers from the Habit Grill, which I think was an enhanced offering. And then again, special anniversary elements too, from the customized event signage to the cookies and so much more that we provided. So with that, I will end on packet page 28 by saying that, you know, as part of our post-event items, we do gather feedback from our staff that were there and booth participants that were there via some surveys in order to help inform how we move forward with some of the changes or enhancements for the following year. And we also do a number of debriefs internally. And again, we will be coming back to the board in January with some of those budget items to provide more detail for the board to discuss. And with that, I conclude my report, and I'm happy to work with the Office of the General Manager to gather any feedback. So thank you.
Well, any questions at this time?
Yeah, let's go over a few things and I'll be upfront. I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I'm surprised that we went over budget to the level, but I'm not here to really knock or get too hard on it, to be honest. But I do think we all need to look at it and see what happened and how we definitely can be within what we expected. So I guess just a few things.
Just before you get too far along there,
Yeah.
let me just say this.
Okay.
I think you ought to address your questions to the general manager.
Oh,
Speak to him
well,
and not to directly to his staff. Okay, so you speak to him.
Okay.
When you're speaking, you look at him, not at, even though they're the part of the audience, but you send the wrong signal when you do that. So please address the questions or your comments to the
all
general.
right, I will do that. So, Mr. General Manager, you will be my liaison to ask my questions. Why don't we do this? Just out of curiosity, have we ever gone over budget before with this event?
Question, Director Houston. So allow me to ask my staff to respond to that question, because I don't see a comparison here between 2019 and the 2022 event as it relates to budget overages.
Let me pull up the 2019. I don't have that comparison right in front of me, but from my, yeah, I don't want to misspeak or anything. So let me just pull up the past year's 2019's event and to see where we landed with the actuals for that. And I know where that's safe, but it'll take me a couple.
Okay, so while you're pulling that up,
Let's just do this. And with all due respect, I'm just going to ask it to whoever I'm facing and then whoever can help answer, because that's not going to be very efficient. But
But
at the end of the day,
nevertheless,
the general manager is ultimately responsible, but
that's right.
I'm gonna ask my questions and it's not gonna be really weird and awkward for me to ask him and then he's asking you. So I'm sorry, everybody, but, okay, so back to this, really brief. Don't get me wrong, it was a great event. So for upfront, it was a great event. I enjoyed it. I wish I could have stayed there the whole day. I couldn't, but it was a wonderful event. I think you all did an excellent job. I was actually one of the ones that complimented the shade. I think that was actually a really good thing. So, I do wonder, you have in here one of the things that cost us more money were the painted rain barrels. Did we pay for that, or I thought that those were, people donated the artwork or the school kids did it. I thought.
Yes, so actually, in terms of the timing for the painted rain barrels request, we in the past, we've worked with schools to help paint those and get those given away at the event. But this year we moved forward with a local artist, a Southern California artist, that provided it was kind of a cohesive look to the 5 rain barrels. So that was that additional cost there, was securing that local artist and then delivering on those painted rain barrels.
Okay, got it. So, okay. And one of the things, and I don't remember in the past if we've had major budget overruns, so I'm just putting the statement out there. I do appreciate you all got sponsorships this year, which is fabulous. I know that we've gone with years with not doing that, then we said, let's do it again. So it offsets the cost, so that's tremendous. You did mention that the parking costs were not even included in the original budget, apparently, that we approved, sounds like.
Correct. I believe that was what was stated, yes. And it appears that the cost of the parking was higher than expected. So there was maybe an overage from that standpoint, but the entire element was omitted from the budget.
So that one I have to tell you, I don't understand because every year we always rent that parking facility. So that needs to be addressed, is that how do we not even have it in the numbers up front? Let alone then, yes, the shuttles go up and yes, there's other things that went up, but that one just kind of is amazing that that was left out. So I think that that needs to make sure you look at that. You mentioned that shade coverage costs more, so obviously we need to account for that. I think that's something you will all look at. I think I would say one or two more things. Well, three. Okay, advertising. I do think, and I saw you advertise all around different places, but now that you're seeing where people are coming from, and even from my own division, very few people are going to come down from Malibu and some of those places. So quite honestly, in advertising, you may or may not need to advertise in some of the newspapers up there or to the level. Because if they're not going to bring people down, then that's just to put the money somewhere else where they're coming from. Or do the digital thing that's a lot less expensive. I hear we got some Topanga folks there. That's amazing. But like I'm looking at every little thing where you could save some stuff and put it to something else. But in the bigger picture, I think that what we need to do is when we've got a number before us, we really need to do our best to stick with the number and not come back with the surprise. Because now it is what it is. We're going to have to eat it. We're going to have to pay this cost. When you look at the figures of how many people came, and then we have to determine, well, was that, does it justify what we did? Even though, yes, we love this event. It's great, but our constituents and our ratepayers, people will look at that and say, wow, what are they doing? So kind of wrapping up, Mr. Chair, I think one of the things I would like you to do when we come back and talk about it, have we gone over the budget in the past?
I do have an answer for that 2019.
Okay.
We did have to go and amend our budget for 2019 and for about 17,000
Okay.
last time. So
Okay.
I think that was incorporated into how we projected for.
So let's make sure we have that when we're talking, just because what I'd like us to do is next time we're planning, let's try and have as much ahead of time built in. And then we can stick with the number. And if something comes up, yeah, we can address it. But I think we just have to be more cognizant of that. And then the other thing is, I would love to hear how much other agencies do spend on their festivals. So WRD, I know it's a large organization, but how much do they typically spend relative to how many people show up? And I think if Upper San Gabriel, do they still do an event?
Yeah, and they actually also work with the same event to side.
I'd love to see how many people show up there and what they're spending, because I do think, look, we're not the only ones doing this. I mean, we need to be very cognizant on finances about it. I did think the food truck was a good ad, by the way. I know you usually do like pizza or whatever, but a lot of compliments there, but the same story. So I think a lot of this is like there's the wants and then there's the needs. And we got a lot of nice wants that got added in or weren't accounted for up front. And now we're all trying to figure out, okay, we're just going to have to take it out of parts of the budget for other things. And so I think there's an issue we just have to look at when we're talking about the amendments, let alone next year's planning. And then the one last thing, and then I saw that on that slide, page 4 slide or page 9 of our packet, the total attendance, because what I'm actually really interested in is, back in 2013, 2014, we were getting somewhere between 1,600 or 1,700 people here. Obviously, Director Williams and I didn't get on the board until after 2014, going to 2015. So that was our first rodeo with this. But when you look at, we had the downturn, of course, with the pandemic, and now we're kind of on the upswing, but I would love to hear like a thought or analysis is why do you think in the past this was a little bit more of a popular event? And, will we get back to those type of numbers or not? I mean, I know it's just a pure projection, but there in the past, obviously, this was a pretty, a lot of folks came, and now we're struggling to get the numbers back up. So I mean, do you even have any insight now that anyone can offer on that?
Director Houston, if I could just maybe touch on, one thing about this year's methodology is I feel very confident that it's fairly accurate. I've been with the district for nearly 17 years, and I've seen varying different ways of calculating the attendees, from each person being handed a specific document, so we know how many we've done, to even hot dog counting from back in the day. And so I don't want to say that those numbers were possibly inflated, but I know that this year's number, based off of the methodology, it's fairly accurate. And then the last piece of it that you're going to see varying attendance is that we have very active communities.
Mhm.
So I know that this year there was actually a harvest/fall festival, I think in the city of Hawthorne this year, but we've competed against a lot of different events, including one year, the Taste of Soul. So we're gonna have to kind of roll with the punches. We do a great job of trying to identify all of those competing events, and we try to pick the best date. And I know that Melissa's brought that before the board to consider when we select the date, but we're always going to have something. October is an extremely popular month.
Okay, no, that's very good points, and good points too about the methodology of how you might have counted. So last thing on all of this, because I think that this will be a good thing for looking at on the back end, looking at what other agencies are doing, how many people they're getting, and based on the spending amount, and then turn around. Like, I think next year, if we have a ballpark of what we project we think we can get to show up, let alone we need to find a number that is upfront, thinks we'll hit all the metrics and not get caught in a bind like this. And yes, look at maybe some more sponsorship options. But at the same time, I want to be very, very cognizant, and of course, so that's going to be, it is what it is, that we're going to have this come back to the board and be voted on as it is. And lastly, thank you letters. I mean, I know that these are awesome that you guys had so many sponsors. So I'm assuming, did you all send out some sort of thank you letters, either from the general manager or from the board? But I think these people need to be thanked for their contribution.
We have not, but I can work with the office.
Really, really good. Okay.
Would it be preferable that we have that signed by the board president?
I think would be.
Okay, we'll do that.
I think, yeah, a letter to each of our sponsors would be in order. Yeah,
Absolutely.
great. And that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Very good. I agree with a lot of what you brought up. And some things, like I say all the time, that it's always the small things that get you. And some of these things should not have happened, because we've been doing this a while, and we have some sharp folks on our team. So not knowing you have to have the additional parking for our shuttle. I mean, that's a small thing, but so it looks a little not good. So painting of the rain barrels, we knew that was popular, that folks love those rain barrels when they're painted. And so that should be planned ahead, to have the kids paint those things when we first start into our rain barrel program. Little things, but those are the ones that get you. Anyone else out there, Director Gray?
Thank you. My comment really has to do with I was not able to attend that event. I can't even remember if I was traveling or what was the reason why, but I know every year it's always been successful. I've heard the comments from those board members who did attend, and I'm sure staff will take those into consideration. But I just want to say thank you to staff for the event. Sorry I was not able to attend, and I'm sure that general manager will take into account those comments that are made by others that did attend today. So thank you.
Director Deere.
Yeah, I'm proud to say that Director Division 5, which I represent, had the highest attendance, and I'm very pleased with the effort put forth by our staff. Thank you all for your participation in it. Thank you.
Location, location, location.
So, Mr. Chair, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the number. What was the number of folks who came from Inglewood, or what, if that was lower this year or whatever, please?
Inglewood. Just a minute.
Slides. Wants the comparison of the bids. So 10 out of all of the divisions, 10% of the attendees were from Division 2, and all of the polled folks that came from Division 2 were from the city of Inglewood.
That's your question?
You know, I'm sorry, I can't hear. I know I'm on the phone. Say it one more time, please. I'm sorry.
Out of the total amount of attendees that were polled, 10% of the total attendees polled were from Division 2. And from those folks who came from Division 2 were from 100% of them that were polled were from the city of Inglewood.
Is that percentage lower than other years, please?
And in 2019, 12% of our attendees came from from Division 2. So it
12%.
decreased in 2%.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That'd be about 120 people.
Thank you, Director. See you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
One more question for staff, and that was on the promotion, because you have that other slide chart, pie chart on page 18 of the presentation. That's R23, but page 18. As you have this is a great chart. It just shows where at least people were saying they got the information. So the majority was from flyers, and I understand you did spend a lot on the flyers. That would be one of those things that made that have been a very worthy expenditure, and family and friends, obviously. 15% social media, which I think in the past, even Director Williams had mentioned how many people are rain barrels from social media. So social media does play a huge component in our outreach. I thought this was good that even our West Basin newsletter got good play, 10%. Now, here's ironically kind of back to what I said earlier, newspaper ads, only 4% of the folks said that they got anything from the newspaper ads. And I know on the one hand, I'm very big on supporting local media, but I also want to be cognizant of where you're spending the money on that, right? Because it's expensive to run those ads and then the colored ones on top of it. So here we go. I'm looking at like the Malibu Times, but let's say no one from Malibu came down. You don't need to spend that money, right? So I think looking at this metric is really, really good as well to see where you're putting the resources and where you also say, I'm not going to do it. And even in my own division, I'm okay. And we can talk about it when we get closer again, but I'm okay if you're not putting ads in certain papers up there, because I just don't want to waste that money, because you could be using that for other things, right, in this budget. So, and I was sad to see that the South Bay Environmental Services newsletter was only 1%, I think, if I'm looking at this right. But at least they do promote that for us. So anyways, but you'll be taking that into account too. And I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Looking at the cost of newspaper ads is very important, because I know in my town, Carson, Breeze is not a very popular newspaper, and not many people take it door to door. I'm on my block. I think there's only 2 homes that take the Daily Breeze. It's not a popular paper because of past experiences with the Daily Breeze. But anyway, ads are very expensive, but I was not excited about social media when I first came on board, but I've learned over time that that's a good bang for your buck right there. I mean, more and more people are into it, even old people like me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Director Deere, have you started taking, never mind. Go ahead. Director Gray, any other comments? Director Deere?
Yep. I've said all
Any other
I'm going to
comments?
say.
No
No,
comments.
it's a good event. That's all I have.
No comments. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, then. Move on.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you for all of the great feedback that you've provided today. I believe that our staff will look very closely at all the components that were raised today. And we look forward to coming back to the board in January with the budget amendments that we talked about. I don't think we clearly indicated that there's also a contract amendment that we'll need to also bring forward to you as well. And so we'll bring all of that in the January board meeting, perhaps through the committee process first, and then onward to the full board.
Very good.
Okay, so with that, our next item is our 75th anniversary campaign year in review, and we have Janelle Anakayan to give us that presentation, or that report, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Greg, and good morning, Chair Williams and members of the board and committee. Today I'll be going over agenda item 6B, that is starting on page 54 of the agenda packet, which is a year in review of the district's 75th anniversary campaign. So if we move on to the presentation, you can see from pages 57 to page 54, you can see several of our key documents and images that were utilized in many of our promotional materials. We were able to uncover many of these documents through extensive research within our own West Basin archives, as well as local newspaper archives and state level archives. So I'll actually skip over those pages since we actually have many of these original documents on display today. So at your leisure throughout the committee meeting, you're more than welcome to take a look at the ones that I've placed over in Director Deere's table in front. So I'll go ahead and move on to the actual highlights of our 75th anniversary campaign, starting on page 66 of the agenda packet. So we officially kicked off our campaign in January of this year with a rebranding and commemorative logo. So you can see a few of our external promotion efforts from the launch of this campaign, including this web news story and a social media post. So again, this is just screenshots or these are all items that are available on the website and on our social media platforms if you wish to read them in depth. On the following page, we are highlighting our district history video that was released in May. And again, we did get pretty good coverage with this district history video and shared it several times at our water harvest event. Moving on, we also had several social media posts and website updates. For background information, we had a goal of posting on social media some of our historic images once a month, and we were pretty successful with that. On the following page, you can see that we were featured in an aqua highlight that does showcase our district history video. So we got some good coverage through that as well. Moving on to the next page of the agenda packet, in the summer, we also introduced a new timeline feature on our history webpage that now includes more photos from our history highlights. That's a nice feature that includes all of these great photos taken throughout the district's 75 years. On the next page, just a quick snapshot of a feature in our district digital e-newsletter. On the following page, which is going to
Give the page numbers, please.
Yes, we are now on packet page 72.
Thank you.
On packet page 72, we have a couple of our publications. The first one on the left was a reprint of a 1969 history booklet that served as a companion piece to our very own history booklet that was developed in honor of the 75th anniversary on the right. Those publications were given out at our special commemorative breakfast at Water Harvest. Our new district history video, or our new district history booklet, is also available online on our website as well. Moving on to the next page, packet page 73, we have some of our special edition promotional materials, many of which were given out at Water Harvest. So we have a special travel mug that was given out to all staff and our attendees to the breakfast. We also had a nice bucket, so some connection to water conservation as well. And we've also had a special lunch bag that was given to all staff as part of our appreciation. The next page, this is a nice photo of our water harvest event, of course, which is themed in honor of our birthday, if you will. And the left photo is our booth over at Water Harvest, which was staffed by our very own Margaret Moja. You can see in the background, we have that wonderful gallery wall that shows the elements from our history. And on the final page, which is package page 75, we have a couple of wonderful images from our 75th anniversary breakfast, in which several of the directors attended, as well as some of our special guests throughout our service area, as well as our many partners. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation by saying cheers to 75 years, and I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just wanted to thank Director Williams for being there at the beginning of the district.
We're the same age, you know.
Yeah.
Director.
A couple things really quickly. One is, I mean, number one, I think you all did a wonderful job. I think it's something to be very proud of. It's the 75th anniversary. You know, I know I'm very proud of the agency, and I thought you did a great job. I love the logo. I liked how you did spread this out over the course of the year, and hopefully even in December, you'll, you know, maybe push something back out again to close it out. I was curious, because the website is really good with that section on it. Will that somehow remain on the website, like in a segment or a section?
Yes, so essentially we will keep the 75th anniversary webpage on our website for the foreseeable future. We don't have any plans to take that up.
Okay.
That down, so it will continue to be a resource to showcase how we celebrate the anniversary.
Good, good. And did we get any feedback from other folks, you know, like when they saw the video, or did they email back to the district, to the newsletter, or when they were at the water harvest? Did anyone really comment? Because I know people commented to me personally here and there, but that's a few and far between. But did y'all get any feedback?
I wouldn't say that I got any written feedback from anyone, but we did share it with all staff as well, and they shared that it was a really great resource. On our YouTube page, we actually have nearly 300 views, and we have 4 likes, which is actually a pretty significant accomplishment for a government agency. So I'd say it tracks pretty well.
Okay, good. And on that note, I still think the video really is excellent, and so I know I've loaded it and told people to check it out, and I think it's great that it's going to be on our YouTube channel forever, I guess. But it was just excellent. I guess my last thing too is when you look at the historical, you know, it's interesting. Obviously, you look at the old photos, you see the faces that were there, and it's really nice to see that the diversity of the district has changed over the many years and is reflected properly. So it's just, you know, something I think of very noteworthy that, you know, when you do look at historical photos and the archives, what you obviously can see versus what is reality, what was reality probably in some ways then, but has changed so much. And I'm just really happy to see that the district reflects the communities that it does serve. Really seriously mean for all of us. Anyway, but thank you, staff. Excellent job this year with this.
Anyone else? Director Gray?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Director Deere? Or you
No,
never
thank you.
mind.
Okay.
Good job, team. I know we're just gonna get better and better as we go. Not saying that we're not better now, but we got to get gooder.
Wait until the 100-year celebration.
I'm waiting for that. I'll be around for that. I'm young enough.
You want to be 107, you know.
Hey, man, that's not bad. Again, thank you very much, team. Great work. And we'll move on to the next item.
Sure thing. So our next item is our communications update, and Melissa will take the lead on that report out. So please, Melissa.
Again, thank you, Greg. So as mentioned, I will be covering the communication efforts that have taken place over November. So I'll actually start on packet page 78. You'll see that 3 recent announcement the district posted, including the Metropolitan Discovery, a recap of water harvest that links to a gallery, a photo gallery on our website, and an announcement of West Basin's co-sponsorship of Metropolitan Water District Spanish landscaping class series that they hosted. And then on the next slide, you'll see the website banner that was created to help promote that co-sponsored series. And then on packet page 80, you'll find a list of the media coverage. And yes, the media coverage. So feel free to browse the completed media clips attachment that starts on packet page 90. I'm moving right along to the social media highlights on packet page 82.
Can you stop rolling?
Oh, sure.
So can I check? That last, like, what was the West Basin?
Which page are we?
Oh, page 4 of the slide.
Yes, so that.
What was that?
That is a partnership that the Green Team, West Basin's Green Team, partnered with the Roundhouse Aquarium to host a volunteer event. And we did a beach cleanup at the Manhattan Beach. You gathered a lot of trinkets and trash from the beach that day, and it was nice to be able to be out in the sunshine with the Green Team and do that on behalf.
That's cool. Oh, that was just staff, obviously. Oh, okay. Excellent.
And we also had an activity yesterday, I believe.
Yes, yesterday we worked with the South Bay Parkland Conservancy, the Green Team. They hosted an event for the Green Team, or for West Basin staff. We invited all West Basin staff to join in a de-weeding process of some of the invasive species on the bluff side. So it was nice to be out there during the sunset hours of the beach. It quickly got cold, but we were able to pull two big bags of some of the invasive species so we can make room for planting of California natives out every day.
Community service at its finest.
And I believe I was on packet page 82, yes, some of the social media highlights showcasing some of the organizations that we continue to engage with on the platforms. So we can see here snapshots of posts by Be Waterwise, Surfrider, and WRD. And then on packet pages 83 through 86, you'll just see snapshots of our most popular posts from each of our platforms. From Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and you can see some of the coverage from our last Rain Barrel event, highlighting of Recycle Water Day, things like that. And then moving along to packet page 87 and 88 in terms of items in the works or in the planning process. So on this slide, you'll see that Water Lab 2023 planning is in full swing, with programs expecting to begin in February and run through the month of October. So we are planning on bringing back our Know Your H2O classes with some new topics in the development phases. We also plan on bringing back our Saturday water recycling tours for our community members, as well as West Basin chats that provide a tailored opportunity for residents to ask West Basin staff questions about our water use efficiency programs. And of course, we will be continuing some of our proactive and reactive community engagement opportunities. So our Speakers Bureau program, our public tour requests for some community organizations, and as well as community event outreach requests too. And last but not least, on packet page 89 is a list of some of the upcoming opportunities. I'll mention a few of them on here. PV Lateral Outreach, one of them on this list is beginning in the new year in January, as well as our Water is Life student art contest that is also set to launch in January. And again, Water Lab will also launch in the new here in February. These are just some of the highlights of upcoming opportunities, but with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I do have a quick questions on, it was page 12 about the Water Lab events coming up. I'm interested in when you all will have maybe a calendar or roster of proposed events. So you'll have something you're going to show us next month or so.
We'll circle back in the next few weeks because we're trying to line up some of the dates with the other different programs. So once we get a solid, I think what we think a good schedule is, we'll circle back with those things we could share. Manager, get that.
No, well, I'd like to see it at the committee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Once you start putting it together, I think.
Since it launches in February, we can, that'll be good timing in
Yeah.
terms of.
My other question, well, and by the way, and when they start coming out, I mean, I do request that you all send me copies of the graphics and whatnot, as you usually do, because I usually use them to promote it. The other question I had is on the tours, the Saturday tours, what are we thinking for how often we do those? Is this,
So what it's looking like right now, and again, we'll have a more solid look when we circle back in the next few weeks. But the way that we structure, we're trying to go similar to what we did this year, where we hosted a Know Your H2O class. And I believe we also had a West Basin chat in the same month, so a week and a half apart. And then we would have our tour the following month. So it's every other month that we want to be able to host these tours. At least the general public ones, of course, we get tour requests and things for special. But that's how it's looking like right now. But again, we'll have a more detailed calendar.
perfect, that's actually what I wanted to hear, because I wasn't sure if once a quarter or every other month, and I think every other month seems to be a fairly good amount, because I really want folks to have the opportunity to come and see the plant. So that's all I have, but I look forward to seeing just the proposed date, just so we kind of know what you've got, looking at the calendar, and then knowing that, everything else comes into play as well. But glad to see you all are planning. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then we move on to the next item.
Thank you, Chair Williams. Our next item is our conservation program update. And we have Gus Mesa, our senior water policy and resources analyst here, as well as Jennifer Vasquez, our water policy and resources analyst, to give the conservation program update. So please.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, Chairman Williams, committee members. Nice to see you. Yes, I have a few updates, and then I'll be handing this over to Jennifer Vasquez for her updates. My first update is we received a funding request, and that is shown on packet page 97 under program highlights. West Basin received a funding request and an opportunity to partner with the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy and the California Native Plant Society on a native plant giveaway project to take place on Saturday, February 25th in the Palos Verdes area. The Land Conservancy's project will target 50 residential homes in the Palos Verdes Estates area, and they will provide a bundle of 16 plants to each participant. Their main goals is to increase the number of the endangered El Segundo blue butterfly. So they're targeting an area in the Palos Verdes area, and they'll be monitoring that area as well. So as you can see, this project provides a couple different benefits. Not only will the native plants conserve water, but the plants will also help increase the numbers of the blue butterfly, which are endangered. There is a preserve in El Segundo near LAX for the blue butterfly. The numbers are low, in case you're interested, because of urban housing and native plants. So I want to thank Melissa. You mentioned you pulled a lot of native plants, the green team, so thank you.
We didn't pull native plants.
I mean,
We pulled
invasive.
invasive.
Thank you. You pulled the invasive. Thank you. Thank you for doing that work. And what they're trying to do is get more of the plants that attract the butterfly and that they feed on as part of this project, as well as conserving water using the native plants. So as part of this project, they will also be coordinating with a native plant expert to provide a free webinar to those participants that receive the plants to teach them how to care for those plants. So that is the project that the Land Conservancy is working on. They also applied to the California Native Plant Society for a small grant, which they received for $2,500 to help with this project. And now they're looking for our support in the amount of $6,300 from our member agency administered funding program. Each year, we're allocated funding from the Metropolitan Water District, $270,000, which we use to help us fund our rain barrel giveaway events and different programs, water harvest, things like that. So we would be able to apply for that funding to Metropolitan Water District. Approve this project, West Basin would be able to purchase the plants and hire the instructor. That would be our role. The Land Conservancy, their role is they're promoting the free plants. They'll be taking the registrations. They'll be coordinating the giveaway event with the location there in the Palos Verdes area. They'll also place our logo on the program flyer as well. And then staff, we would invite West Basin employees to see if they would like to volunteer on that Saturday. We'll have a few employees there helping to load the plants into the vehicles. And if we need more volunteers, we may be able to talk to Palos Verdes High School. They may be interested to send a few students over to help out. So we could look into that as well. So I'll go ahead and stop here and answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Director Gray? Go on, please.
Great, thank you. We'll keep the committee updated as we move along here on that project. My next update is on our water energy partnership with SoCal Gas, and that's on page 98 of your packet. This program is currently being implemented and offered to our residents in our underrepresented communities. SoCal Gas's vendor, Global Energy Services, is out there promoting and installing the free water conservation devices. To date, they've had 123 residents sign up for the program. 55 from the city of Gardena, 34 from Carson, 17 from Hawthorne, and 17 from Lawndale. And they've installed 68 high efficiency toilets, 22 smart sprinkler timers, 6 smart hose bib timers, 25 sink aerators, and 62 shower heads. So they're at about 30% of the device goal. So they're out there working and installing devices as we speak. There.
You get a question on that? Thank you, Gus. Now you mentioned Lawndale also, but that's not included in this right now. So, but Lawndale.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this is recent information that I just received
okay.
The other day from the vendor.
Okay, how many in Lawndale?
17.
Great. And my other question on this is, how do we highlight once this is accomplished? How do we, kind of say, hey, this is what happened, what West Basin, SoCal Gas did? Or have we gotten that far yet?
Gotten that far yet, Director Houston, and at the end of this project, we could come back and do a report, talk about the devices installed and the water savings, the pros and cons, things like that. Since this is a pilot, our first time partnering with SoCal Gas.
Sure.
So at the end of this next year, we could come back. Full report.
Is your question more along the lines of how do we publicly promote what the partnership and?
I think.
Oh, yes, excuse me.
Yeah, no, that's okay, guys. I was listening to what you were saying and then, trying to think how, but I just think, it sounds like a great program. I know it's a pilot, but if SoCal Gas is open to doing something as well, but maybe there is a way, I don't know what the way is, but that we could highlight somehow, that we have helped these folks to, you know, install these devices. I mean, I think we should be really, really happy to be able to accomplish this.
And maybe we don't have to wait to the end because
Right.
highlight can help promote the remainder of the program.
Yeah, and things like that. So I just would like you all maybe to see if there's a way. I have no idea on the legalities and whatever with the pilot program, but I mean, that would be awesome to somehow be able to say, hey, you know, such and such residents of Gardena were able to do X, Y, and Z thanks to, you know, SoCal Gas and West Basin. So anyway, just a thought. And then certainly in the closeout, we should hopefully be able to say some things because we are going to, maybe they're going to replicate this. So.
Input. Thank you.
Kind of follow up on what the gas companies do.
Right.
My last two updates are on page 99. I have a couple of updates. First, for the Malibu Smart program that ended, we did just receive the final project report that staff is currently reviewing. And once that is finalized, we'll provide a copy to our board services here to provide it to all our directors. So you can see what we did there, all the successes and challenges of the Malibu Smart to make it smart. And second, everything is moving forward with the new joint IRWIMP project in the North Santa Monica Bay area. This is the new partnership with Las Vegas Municipal Water District and LA County to develop a new project that's moving through the IRWIMP process. So we'll continue to provide updates on that to the committee. And then lastly, on page 99, the Rain Barrel program, and staff met internally, and we also met with the South Bay COG brief and talk about, you know, what worked well, what didn't. And so we're putting that information together and we'll bring that back to the committee at a future committee meeting. And so those are my updates. Are there any questions?
Be very, very brief as I can really fast, guys. So thank you, the update on Malibu and Topanga Smart. I'm looking forward to seeing the final report, let alone maybe that's something you can also let us know because that was a pilot program as well, wasn't it, when we first got that funding?
It was something unique, and yes, I would say that was a pilot.
Okay, well, yeah, it was unique. It was like first time deal or something. So can you also include if it is going to be something that other agencies might utilize or the state's going to look at in the future and or we might try something again? And by all accounts, it was a success with all the challenges over whatever 3 or 4 years we've been doing that. We would have never believed, but I think that would be great to see if it will be a model that hopefully others can replicate. So I'd like some input and thoughts on that from you all. And maybe that's something we can showcase to, you know, our lawmakers, et cetera, that it was a successful program. So that's that. I also want to say, Gus, and I read this the other night when this was, you know, posted. Thank you for the work with Las Virgenes and those other agencies up there. I'm really excited how this is coming together. You know, not to put the cart before the horse, so I want to say thanks there. And then my last thing, with the rain barrels, I'm really, really pleased on how it went. You know, from my perspective, we got all the rain barrels out there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to just keep the ball rolling quickly with the check distribution. So, you know, I just ask that you all will be looking at those options quickly in the new year as to how we'll schedule getting the funds to the groups, let alone, of course, we do the photo opportunity and coordinate with each division director. But I just don't want us to wait for 2 or 3 months to get that accomplished. We were early at the rain barrel events this year, so let's close it out because they actually need the funding, right? They really use that. So I'd like to keep that moving. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and turn this over to Jennifer. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair Williams, committee, and board members. I will begin my updates on the bottom portion of board packet page 101 with the updates.
Going further, I like your What is that? Is that a coffee cup or?
Yes, currently tea, but yes.
I like that.
Thank you. So bottom portion of board packet page 101 with updates to the Grass Replacement Plus program. So Tree People has addressed now a total of 19 landscape design packages to date that will be utilized to process the increased rebate application. This is again the pilot program out of 20. So we have one remaining design, and I think we have officially, as of today, have that closed out. I will be contacting the resident that reached out to us for that final package design. Most of these already have completed design packages. Out of the 19, there was just one that came in November that is currently being addressed with Tree People. So they will be visiting them for the design consultation and the creation of the actual design. And another thing I wanted to update with this Grass Replacement Plus program, of course, it integrates the free tree that was designed with this program. And the distribution is being completed this month for the initial participants that are ready to receive the tree. So many of them, to date, that's a total of 13 out of the 19 that have accepted planting a new tree in their space. This is again in their front yard area, their backyard area, and it was included with the design process with Tree People, selecting an appropriate area where this tree can be placed. It's included in their design that they are now using for the rebate application so that they can secure their funding for the $5 rebate that we promote for that Grass Replacement Plus program. And once all trees are delivered, at least this first round, I am hoping to meet with Tree People to discuss lessons learned, as this was a pilot program, and the next phase of the Grass Replacement Plus program is set to be released in 2023. So we do want to hear back from our program partner, Tree People, to see what went well, what can we improve on in the next round of this program, which we continue to see a benefit from those residents that are utilizing their design packages to then apply for the rebate. So I can take any questions for Grass Replacement Plus specifically before I move on to the residential grass replacement rebate information.
Questions?
It wasn't my question. I think it's a great program. I think one thing would be, I would love to see, maybe as it's closing out this pilot or whatever, but maybe you all can show us a few photos or something, but when the resident was working with Tree People or things were happening, just show us some of the stuff that happened and transpired, the before and after. I think that would be good, because I know we're giving our updates every month, but it'd be nice to see some photos or some action as to what really transpired, and maybe give us a brief highlight as to how that program worked. Because obviously we want to look at, do we move forward with it again? How do we improve it, expand it, and so on? So I think that'd be great.
Yeah, happy to share additional photos. I think it really does connect us to the residents, because you speak with them at the beginning of their project when they're interested. They're not really sure how to get started. And so we have more of that connection as opposed to rebate applications that might just go through the SoCal WaterSmart platform. So I'm happy to share the before and after photos. And also I was able to join for the design consultation initially. So just what Tree People offers as far as their service when they are out there in the community. If there's no other questions.
Is that it? Director Deere?
Nope, no more, thanks.
Director Gray?
No, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on.
Great. So moving into board packet page 102, and this is for the residential grass replacement rebate section. So just a brief update. It's most of it, of course, the numbers are included within the package, but as of November 22nd, a total of 13 new applications were processed for the residential grass replacement rebate on the SoCal WaterSmart website. So to date, that brings us to 131,000 roughly residential square feet that are being processed and completed in the rebate applications. I did check the numbers today just to see where we ended in November, and we did end with 21 rebate applications. Again, an update from the board packet, just based on when it was submitted. So November, 21 rebate applications were processed on SoCal WaterSmart. And again, that brings us to page 103, where the rebate application data table is included, along with information that is presented by Metropolitan just through their updates of all of their programs, but specifically focusing on the turf replacement item that's listed there. Continuing updates to the grass replacement class section, and that it begins on page 104. Following this page, West Basin staff did co-sponsor a 3-part Spanish landscape series organized by Metropolitan and led by Green Gardens Group, or G3, on December 1st, 6th, and 8th. Below and included in this package is the translated piece that was used on our website to promote these classes. Unfortunately, due to low registrations, the class originally planned for today, December 8th, was canceled by Metropolitan staff. Overall, the first 2 classes also had lower attendance than expected. The class on December 6th did have 30 registrations, but unfortunately on the day of, for example, we only were able to have 3 to 4 attendees for this class. So LADWP and West Basin was able to provide information on the grass replacement information in Spanish and to at least promote to those that did attend on that day. So overall, the content was great and it's something that we should definitely use in the future. You know, a lot of terms in Spanish that I had not heard of before, even myself being a Spanish speaker. So I have a lot of practice to do is what I learned for a lot of these terms that we use in the landscaping world. So moving down to the public agency updates, and that's included at the bottom of board packet page 104 into page 105. West Basin continues, of course, to work with Swayster Landscapes to address the design assistance. Just a few of the updates. I updated, of course, the completed designs, who is on the design stage, but we did have El Camino College recently completed. We're currently reviewing with their staff any updates that they may need on their landscape design. It's a there's various sections within the campus that they're looking at removing grass. All of it is non-functional. They walked us through their whole campus. It was really encouraging to see that, you know, they identified areas of grass that really isn't used, and they understood that, and they understood the importance of really going into something more drought tolerant, or as I like to call it, climate appropriate. And so we are hoping to meet with them one last time this month to finalize any final changes to their landscape design that they have received. And once they confirm, this will begin for them an RFP process. So that might take some time, but at least they have the design package again in hand. Another update, or I guess just a general update, is City of Manhattan Beach is also preparing to present the finalized landscape designs to their council in January of 2023. And, you know, we as staff have offered to help prepare any additional materials that they may request for this presentation, if they need us to be present to just speak on the designs and what our thought was when these were created. And also City of Hermosa Beach has applied and received approval to begin their street median project, removing approximately 750 square feet. Construction for that is set to begin also in January 2023. And lastly, the most recent is Eucalyptus Elementary School. I mentioned, I think, a few times, but they are ready to begin construction this month. They have their design that will be removing 2,578 square feet. And so that's encouraging as well. That might be the most recent construction that we will see, and hope to document it as soon as it occurs. Finally, a general update on the ocean-friendly garden section. Well, actually, gardens just in general, not yet included in this board memo. West Basin staff has engaged with our landscape contractor, Swayster Landscapes, in the month of November to document the state of all of the 12 independent gardens. These pictures included the documentation of existing ground cover, the West Basin signage that's in place, and our team will be back with a full report and recommendations in the January PI committee meeting. The team, you know, as I highlighted, we are looking to think of how to utilize this space as a learning space for the community. And we even have an upcoming event for Rowley Park that I think could serve as a great example of how to utilize these gardens in the future and engage the community again that are present within. So that is the last of my updates, but I am happy to address any additional questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much. It's a lot there. The Raleigh Park, so what's the potential event or something that you were gonna do there that?
Yeah.
Highlighted?
I can definitely speak to that. So they did reach out to us through Speakers Bureau. And one of the items that they were requesting is kind of a hands-on type of workshop. So the initial idea is to engage the community and teach them about maintenance of these type of gardens. Maybe if it's the first time that they're learning about drought-tolerant landscapes, teach them about obviously the rebate if they would like to place that in their home. And then have them engage with a hands-on activity of actually integrating that with the ocean-friendly garden that's at Rowley Park. So learning about drought-tolerant landscapes, maintenance, and then participating in, it is a smaller garden, so it will be a shorter hands-on type of workshop, but kind of combining all those elements, and it helps upgrade or just update the Rowley Park garden that's there, the ocean-friendly garden that's there at Rowley Park. And again, just teach them about the rebate that's available.
Okay, so a group reached out wanting this hands-on experience or something?
City of Gardena staff reached out to the Beautification Commission there at the City of Gardena, has been asking for in-person activities. We were at a time that it was still on hold, so it kind of transitioned and it took a few months until there was comfort in that first in-person activity, and now it's translated into that hands-on workshop.
Great. Well, number one, I love the idea and I look forward to hearing what transpires. And actually, I would just ask when you get it scheduled, if you could just at least share it with the board. So if any of the other directors want to show up and actually see how it goes, but it might be a model that we could use somewhere else. Because, you know, again, I think the ocean-friendly gardens are fantastic and a lot of people don't know they exist. And then, of course, we want to make sure that they're maintained properly. But I always tell people, for example, go to Robert Frost Auditorium. There's one right there. Go to Cal State Dominguez, you know. So maybe it's an idea that, not to continue adding to your workload, but maybe it's an idea that, hey, you know, that's a good idea that perhaps once in a while you could meet on site or somebody could utilize that. I'd love that. So let's see how it goes. I wanted to make sure I was clear. So on this roster, it's the completed design, but then it's on the agency to actually then move forward, right, and implement the design.
Public agency, yes. So they have the design package in hand, which includes everything that meets the rebate requirement for SoCal Water Smart. I do offer to apply for or help them through the rebate application because it includes collecting, well, I have the design pack or the design landscape design. It also includes a copy of the water bill, which sometimes takes them some time to get back to me with. And then photos of the area, which luckily we get through the design consultation in this program. So we have photos for them, landscape design, and then a copy of the water bill. And all of those go into the rebate application. After that, it really is a matter of, are they presenting it to some sort of council? Are they going out to an RFP process on their end to get this done? Or is their staff actually participating in the construction of the garden? It varies and it's kind of all over the place. And it also is what takes a little bit longer. Even after we hand them the design, it's really on them to begin to plan on their end, you know, what kind of process they need to get this approved.
Okay, good. That was when I was reading this, I just was wanting to make sure, because you have them laid out, complete design, design stage, interest. But this, because it's complete design, doesn't mean that obviously the property has, anything's been accomplished on it. So I think it's great again. And one of the things I think we should try and do is, depending on how, when they get implemented, obviously, because this is a really strong partnership, we should look at how do we partner with the organization to, again, showcase completion. So I think that should just be on the roster of things. Because, for example, El Camino College, you know, if they go through with this and, you know, do some transitions on multiple parts of their campus, I think that would be great. You know, the board of directors of El Camino, the board of trustees, and the board of directors of West Basin, that should be something we highlight. So that was my thinking on this. And I think that as they come together, because again, we've been pushing this hard. We're really excited about it. And it just showcases to the broader community the work that we're all doing cooperatively. real quick, and I'm so glad that you did bring up about the Spanish classes, because I wanted to know how it went. Now, these were virtual, they're not in person. So on the one hand, I was gonna say, well, where were all the other agencies that were even not sponsored? You know, I mean, only is what, LAWP, West Basin, and was the City of Santa Ana, I see? But all these other agencies didn't even sponsor, participate, or what have you.
As far as we know, we were, I did reach out to Metropolitan to create that graphic, actually. And so that was, we sent that over to LADWP and City of Santa Ana. If you see at the bottom, it has my information, and I even told them, feel free to use my email, but if you have staff, obviously that will be contacted. So we did see, of course, 30 registrations, but yeah, the other agencies, as far as I know, did not participate in promoting this class, but they may have, maybe just by pushing their residents to the Be Water Wise website where these classes live in.
Okay, so my only thought on all of this is, I mean, you got to experiment and see what happens, which they're doing. And some of these communities are very hard to engage and get them to show up. I mean, we know this in other realms of participation. I guess when they relook at this for the future, maybe does it make sense if they do try to do an in-person event versus a virtual? I don't know, but I think coming out of this, you all, Metropolitan will have some lessons to figure out, but I'm glad we were part of it. When I first saw it, was surprised that, of all the other agencies that are out there, that only these three were the ones that put our name on it. So that whatever that's about, but separately, now that you're seeing the turnout was very low, and then it's like, well, is it because it's virtual? Is it because would it be better in person? Would it be better if it was targeted specifically in the City of Santa Ana? I don't know, but I think that that's something that they'll look at. I would ask you guys to look at that. I'm very, obviously, it's kind of unfortunate these other agencies that and it's a lot of Latino residents are not participating. And then my last thing on all of this is I see, again, we are doing really, really well with the grass rebate program. We're getting a lot of participation. And I just want to make sure we are continually pushing that out. However, staff is doing that, because now there's a lot more pressure from the state and the federal government, pretty much, that's where we're heading, especially with the Colorado River situation. I don't even know if you have an answer now, but maybe by next month, but this is like the most effective program we have. So the staff really working hard on making sure that this is constantly promoted and pushed.
I think that's actually the case. You may recall as the board approving the additional budget for this program, and correct me if I'm wrong, EJ, this is where we sold out the rebate program, and so the board was able to provide an additional 300,000 to continue the funding on this program. And so I think that metric speaks for itself.
So the metric does. And even if we didn't give them the extra dollar, but people are still participating, and there's going to be a lot of pressure coming down onto Metropolitan, right, and onto the state of California to take out grass, I believe, from everything I hear. So I just think that this has to be one of the biggest things we're constantly promoting and pushing among all the other things you've got going on. But this just has to, I tell every people all the time, I tell the folks that we have this program. It's the best thing you can do to save water and save money. Everything else, rain barrels and all that other, that's important, but it's kind of seasonal, what have you. But this is constant. So I think that, if staff just continue to report on us that what are you doing to promote this program, in the service area? I'd just like to hear how that continues to be one of them.
Yeah, and I can add some right now, but I can definitely add, bring everything together maybe at the next hike or the PIE committee. I know definitely Janelle has been doing an amazing job. I just have to give her a shout out for that. Her social media content, she's requested a few different before and after photos of, from the SoCal Water Smart website. I'm able to see everything that's coming in. And I think before and after photos really speak to people. It shows them, oh, this is how it would look like. And so she's done a great job putting content, definitely for the last few months. Since she took that role of putting social media content together for grass replacement. People need to see it multiple times, right, to engage with that. I'm also really excited to start the West Basin chats again in the new year. I think that really brings an ease. The way that I'm able to talk to residents, and then even they have my contact information afterwards, because they get very nervous about, how do I get started? How do I even measure my space? And I think I miss it. I want the West Basin chat soon to get started, because I think we see the engagement from residents right after. And even in general, we're seeing a lot of applications coming in. If there's anything that goes wrong with their application, we're able to assist them to get them back on to the approved process instead of being denied by something that was flagged down on their water bill, for example, if they didn't include the correct information on the application. Various ways, and definitely Janelle has been doing a great job with social media so far. On our website, Melissa and I are always thinking of what more to include. We've added a few resources. Tree People has great information, some information about maintenance, but we're always looking to see what else to add to that grass replacement West Basin page, because that's ultimately where we're sending everyone to see, how to get started with design and measurements of their landscape. And so anything that can be added on there, we're always trying to keep an eye on what to add.
Very, very good.
But can definitely provide more information at the next PIE committee.
I think, yeah, and between the information and just in general, I think that this has to be the number one concern of the outreach from West Basin should be this program. We don't have a lot of other things to offer that make a big impact like this. And then turn around, of course, on the other note, we've got, of course, talk about the policy issues and other things. That's different. But on the community outreach side, this is, I think, the number one thing that we have to just constantly push and remind, because I see how the numbers kind of fluctuate. It depends on how the weather is going. It depends on what's going on in the holidays, et cetera, et cetera. But this is very, very exciting. But yet now I'm telling you that the heat is going to be coming down in the next handful of months, both from the state and the federal government. And we have this right here. We got to push it really hard. So I'm gonna keep saying it every month.
And then these are really good comments. And when you look at the table that's on the screen right now, page 103, if we're able to dramatically increase our total numbers, we're right now at 20 or 30, applications per month. Imagine if we could double that. I don't know what it would take to double that, but if we could get that to a much larger number, because I think that's what you're saying is we want more residents to replace their grass. We want more commercial institutions to take out their non-functional turf. And so the more we could do that, we're moving in the right direction. I think that's kind of your message.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I agree. Now, one of the things I've noticed here recently is that up until this state of the drought, the folks who live in the small residential lots, 6,000 square foot lots, they have like maybe 700 square foot area that of grass. They are now moving, are interested in taking out that turf. So some of them have made the mistake because they didn't know. They took it out before they looked into our program. So they cannot participate because they have no before and after pictures, And then there are others who have taken out their turf and put in artificial turf. Or my neighbors have done that because they didn't know. Even though we've been in this business of promoting this for some time, but still, folks don't know. And it's really heartbreaking to have to tell them, sorry, we're too far ahead of the game or whatever, that we missed you. So there are a lot of people out there who want to now take out that grass. And the other thing is that the, for lack of a better term, the mom and pop nurseries are fading. As a matter of fact, for the most part, a lot of them are gone. So then you're left with the big box gardening area in the store. And most of those people in there, unfortunately, don't know which end is up when it comes to gardening. So the homeowners left without any good information. And I think we need to step up our game in the residential areas of getting our message out to them. And even if we have to have a program of monthly or every other month of going door to door with hangers, door hangers, or flyers, whatever. Because I don't think we're getting it with the newspapers. Not hitting home, but do what the cities do. I've gotten flyers from my city for 3 events on 3 different occasions. And they're all dropped off by the guy walking with the mail sack on his back, you know, but they're out there. Now, there are places right around here, residential areas that are just north of Alondra up to Rosecrans, and perfect place for putting in the kind of landscaping that we want to see, but they don't know about it. We need outreach is what we do. We need to be doing that. Every opportunity we get, we should be outreaching. We should be out there. That's all I have to say, but you guys have been doing a great job. So thank you. Anything else? Director Deere?
Nope, no more.
Director Gray? Okay, that takes us to the next item.
It certainly does. And our next item will be Tammy Hurley High, our water policy and resource analyst, will present on our water bottle filling program. So please, Tammy, take her away.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Williams and members and of the board and committee. So this program, this report gives you an update on the program, on the status update. And the presentation slides will begin on page 110 of the committee packet. And on the first slide, we have the list of applications that came through during fiscal year 2021 applications. And the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District, they have continued to make progress, and they have installed their units at various school locations. And then with respect to the Culver City Unified School District, on their 2 elementary schools, those are still pending the installation. And if we can move along to the next slide. For the fiscal year 2021-22 application. Regarding the applications that we received from the LA Unified School District for the 2 schools located in Division 1 and 1 school located in Division 5, they have received their award check last month, and they will be working to order units for the installation. For the city of Redondo Beach, their construction is still pending. This unit, they've had some delays in getting the equipment delivered. And regarding El Segundo Middle School, they have confirmed receipt of their award check As a reminder, we had to reissue a check earlier to them earlier this year, and they have a new principal that has started. And then for the city of Gardena, their applications have been approved and we are processing their award check. And if we can move to the next slide. Here's a list of applications that have been received so far during this current fiscal year. There's really no major updates on these applications from last month. And if we can move to the next slide. Regarding the program budget. So this slide reflects all of the applications received and the amounts that are available for the remainder of the fiscal year. And so far, applications have been received from entities located in divisions 3 and 5. And then next, we have some photos to share with you. So this unit is installed at the St. Philomena School located in Carson. And included in the photo is the school principal, Sister Mary John Schlick. And she's very excited. The whole school is thrilled to have this. They have, all the students have water bottle containers and they use it constantly. And the station is located in the main hallways of the school that serves approximately 350 students.
Sorry, I missed that one. And I missed quite a few during this period. So,
She's very happy. The school's very happy that they have the unit, so they send their thank yous. Yeah. And then for the next slide, this station is located at Ernie Howlett Park in the city of Rolling Hills Estate. And this is one of the city's major recreational facilities with an equestrian center, baseball fields, a running path, and a bicycle path. And the park also hosts numerous festivals and large-scale events throughout the year. In this photo is a snapshot. It includes Mayor Frank Zerinian and staff member Rosa Pinellas. She is a community services supervisor. Again, they are also very happy, and it's located at a great proximity in the park.
I missed this one a lot as well. Couldn't be helped.
And then lastly, the list on this last slide in the packet, it includes a few locations that we will be scheduling photo opportunities in the near future. We've already reached out to some, just trying to see what we can get scheduled in coming weeks and coming months. So that concludes your report. I think that we can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Real quick, and I see what you got scheduled, Tammy, in my area, but so really fast, going back to Culver City Unified, they're still waiting on 2 locations from 2020, 2021.
Right, the elementary school, they submitted their application towards the end of that fiscal year, but they are still experiencing delays in getting those units installed. And they do have the other unit, the high school unit that's completed, and we're trying to work on getting a photo opportunity at the high school unit.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one you have here at high school, and that's completed, meaning also has the sign in, right? The sign's now in. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's just. Can you really ask what the delay is on the those other 2? Because I mean, that's, you know, when we've given them this funding for a couple of years now it's just sitting there. So I think we need to kind of push them a little bit.
I will.
You know, the other thing is that I'm trying to keep track in my own areas, but on the next chart on page 3. For example, it says it's installed, like let's say Temple Akiba. Now, when it says it's installed, does that mean that the sign is there too, or just the physical?
The physical location or the physical unit?
Unit is in, but not the signage yet.
Some are and some are pending. So for example, Temple Occupy in Culver City, we've ordered that sign and we're expecting it to come in soon. As soon as it comes in, then we will send that to them and then of course try to arrange a photo opportunity. And then the other sign we're waiting on that is pending is Environmental Charter School from Lawndale. So Yeah, so this particular chart just indicates the units are installed.
Very good. And I think on this, the last one, I had a question on was Center Street School. Says it's an indoor near field and third grade rooms, because I remember we already did a photo op. It was in an outdoor area at Center Street this past year, give or take. This is a different one, right?
Oh, I see. It's and what we classified as an indoor model on the wall, but it's in the covered area that.
Oh, so is this the one we did do the photo op? Okay, okay, because okay, that was, I was trying to double, triple check. All right, so that one we've done. Got it. And I know we've been talking to the city for quite a while on the campus El Segundo. So I think, you know, look, they're gonna get their new council members sworn in. They're gonna have some other things. So let's look at some dates, hopefully January, February, to really try and, you know, get on the calendar with the city of El Segundo and the school district for the ones that are finished. And and then once Temple Kiva gets its installation in. So I'm anxious, of course, to, you know, do this with the calendar in January, February, March. I keep saying it all the time to the other folks involved, not our staff. It is not that difficult. I mean, if they can round up a council member or two or a mayor, I mean, like, we drive down there, it takes like 5 minutes to do a photo, but it's like pulling teeth sometimes to get this accomplished. I understand, Tammy. So, but I really would love to get some of these going, because they're good to sort of roll them out, right? Instead of doing in big batches, we can kind of roll them out and showcase, because then the last thing I see is that obviously nobody in Division 4 thus far has applied. And then it's a couple of other divisions. So I know I've got to step up my game and help you reach out to these folks like, hey, we have got free money to help you, right? So, you know, I think it's a great program. And I'm anxious to get those photos accomplished and also do that outreach. So, you know, and by the way, I'm happy, you know, if you have an issue, you know, let the general manager's office know so I can help to communicate. Because sometimes I run into these school board members and other people and they're like, oh yeah, we want to do that. And then we're still having trouble getting it accomplished. You know, so let's, anything you need, you let them know and I'll help. Okay? Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Director Deere?
I'm pleased with the way it's going. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but it wasn't very clear.
Well, I'm pleased with the way things are going.
Okay,
Hope that was better.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Director Gray? Okay, we can move on. Great job, folks. I'll try to do better with those photo ops.
Lose some weight.
Got it. All right. So that takes us to item 7. I don't see any closed session items.
That's right.
So let's go to number 8. Item 8.
Bye, Gray.
Hey, right. Then there's director's comments for future agenda items.
Really quick. So I want to say thank you to staff, because I know there was a lot of information today, a lot of questions and answers, and we do appreciate it. And I appreciate your understanding and patience as we, you know, do what we're supposed to do up here. So again, I want to say the water harvest was excellent. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was well done. I was very pleased. So thank you to everyone involved, and looking forward to how we, of course, do the next one. But I think it's one of the best things we ever do every year, and people count on it. So just want to commend you for it. The grass replacement rebates, the metrics. I mean, I was very happy when I saw those numbers. And then when you just gave us the update of how many more have come in since that published report. So I'm pleased. And the same story. We just got to keep pushing. And then the rain barrels, those all went really, really well from everything I've seen and heard. And we got all the barrels out of there. And it was before the end of the year, before the holidays, no less. So, you know, or well, one was after the holiday. No, it was right before Thanksgiving, right? It was before Thanksgiving. So at the end of the day, we got those out. I was really happy. I'm not saying, I'm saying but I mean, I hope we, the board, are happy, but I'm really happy with staff. You guys have done a good job. And we're always improving, we're always learning. And I think some of the things that we all bring up is we're just trying to make it better. And the board members are very active in our cities and communities. So we kind of know those push points and where to play and what to do. And I hope that that's helpful to staff. And so the last thing on all this is I do need to make sure we need to talk about the community swearing in event. We need to start that planning. And usually that does go through, the committee of the board process, but now we're in December. So I would ask Mr. General Manager, we need to have that as an action item on the agenda for this month to have staff look at what we've done in the past, and the board needs to look at, are we going to do a community swearing in? When will we look at some dates and locations? Because now we do have to get the ball rolling quickly. So I think that's the best course of action, is just put it on the agenda for the end of this month, December,
The 19th,
Correct.
December 19th.
So at least we can, and probably put it as an action item.
Action item.
Action item.
So that we can get that moving. Then it can go through, then you can update us in the following month, January, as we lead up to whatever date. But that way, I hope that all 5 directors will be present, and we can kind of come to consensus as to what we would like to do.
Very good. We will do that for December 19th.
Thank you.
Yeah, a little disappointing that it was like an event that just all of a sudden came to your attention. This has been around for some time. So okay, next item for director's comments. Director Deere, did you comment already?
I've made enough comments today. I'm not going to be able to attend the other committee meeting that's on tonight because I have some Lions Club activities to attend.
Okay,
Just want to let you know.
is that clear?
Yeah.
So that means the F&A committee meeting?
Yeah, this afternoon, I'm going to read through the packet so at least I'm informed as what's going on.
Okay, very good. Director Gray,
And
I believe she.
thank you very much.
I believe she left. She signed
Yeah.
off, didn't she? Well, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.